Once I moved to Mumbai to set up the design collaborative, I went over to Natwar Parekh Colony because I'd made friends with a few women there. Just as any, I guess, idealistic architect would, the moment I saw the neighborhood up close, I was given a tour by Parveen, who lives there. I guess in my naivete, I thought, okay, there is potential to make this slightly better.
We walked past almost like 12, 13 buildings, and there was no sunlight. Like there was no sunlight between the buildings, no wind, and the air was thick. Nobody should live like that, because the first three principles of design is take care of the light, take care of proper air ventilation, and take care of infrastructure. And Natwar Parekh Colony didn't have any of those. The first problem was the fundamental design and planning of the colony.
It is their home at the end of the day, despite all the challenges that they face in the attempt to live a healthy life in that area.
मैं बिल्कुल नहीं भेजती हूँ नीचे बच्चों को। जब हम साथ रहते हैं बच्चों के तब हम नीचे लेकर जाते हैं, या मेरे हस्बैंड लेकर जाते हैं, थोड़ी देर उनको खेलने के लिए साथ में रहते हैं, उनके खेलते हैं वो 1-2 घंटा, फिर उनको लेकर आते हैं। ऐसा बिल्कुल अकेले हम लोग उनको छोड़ते ही नहीं खेलने के लिए नीचे।
यहाँ पे खेलने के लिए कोई भी जगह है नहीं जो बच्चों के लिए सेफ़ हो, अच्छा हो। बच्चों के साथ साथ मतलब बड़ों को भी अभी डॉक्टर बोलता है कि वॉकिंग करना चाहिए, थोड़ा बाहर की हवा लेना चाहिए। बड़े भी वहाँ पे झुलस रहे। लड़कियों को तो ज़्यादा दिक्कत हो गई है, वैसे भी बेचारियों को घर से नहीं निकलने मिलता है और ऐसे भी नहीं निकल रहे। अगर पार्क होता तो आधा घंटा अपनी माँ, दादी, नानी के साथ तो लड़कियाँ नीचे आती बैठती। वो तो बिल्कुल घर की हो गई। लड़के फिर भी स्कूल से आते हैं तो थोड़ा बहुत नीचे वो दोनों बिल्डिंग के बीच में खेल लेते हैं, लेकिन लड़कियाँ तो बिल्कुल नहीं उतर पाती।
अभी ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि पेरेंट्स भी बैठ सके और बच्चे भी खेल सके। पार्क बनेगा तो एक जगह सीमित हो जाएगी कि ये भाई यहाँ पे खेलने का है, तो हम रोज़ भी लेके जा सकते हैं, ऑफिस के बाद भी, रात में भी।
तो पार्क से यहाँ मुझे लगता है बच्चे, बूढ़े, जवान सभी को फ़ायदा होगा।
So we started talking about how we could improve whatever little open space that is there, and perhaps see how we could work with them so they can begin to understand and identify the shortcomings within the buildings itself. The idea of maximizing the use of the open spaces as much as possible so that kids are allowed to play in the open areas, because right now it's not really pleasant considering how much garbage there is all over the place.
इतने बार साफ करके देने का थोड़ा तो लोगों को अपना आजूना आप लोग देखे थे ना, नीचे 4 घंटे से सफाई हम लोग करा रहे, वापस से वही हाल कर दिए। क्या मिल है आप लोगों को कचरा डाल के? लेकिन हम लोग कभी नहीं फेंकते ना, ये रूम फेंकता है ना, वो रूम फेंकता है ना, वो रूम, हम तीनों रूम कभी नीचे कचरा नहीं फेंकते ना, ये आंटी फेंकते हैं। सबसे पहली बात, कचरा नीचे डालो मत। बहुत हद पार हो गई, हम लोग साफ करा के थके। तुमको मालूम है कितनी बीमारी फैल रही है? मलेरिया, टाइफाइड, टीबी सब ये कॉलोनी में
In order to work towards any tangible spatial improvements, it became key to first address the problem of garbage. The problem of garbage made this a neglected colony in the eyes of the local authorities. The people living there did see it as a problem but did not know how to solve it because it became a problem of habit. Parveen ji with some other women of the colony led multiple self-initiated cleanliness drives, and some worked for a couple of weeks but returned to its previous state.
2017 में किए थे, CHDC के ही जरिए हमने काम किया था सफाई के ऊपर। तो इतना अच्छा हो गया था ये कॉलोनी कि 10 साल में ऐसा दोनों बिल्डिंग के बीच में देखने को कभी मिला नहीं था, सिर्फ सपने में मिला था, लेकिन वो रियल में हो गया था। वो सफाई के लिए सबसे ज़्यादा उसमें बच्चों ने भाग लिया था। फिर बारिश आई, बारिश ज़्यादा आने की वजह से पानी भरने लगा, तो 2 महीना हमने थोड़ा सी काम की तरफ ढीलापन किया, तो वो बारिश से वापस वैसा ही हो गया।
What was very interesting is when I went to visit them in their homes were sparkly clean. Their corridor spaces were very well maintained. However, we also understood that they didn't see that as a collective shared space. In many of our conversations, I've heard quite a few of these women talk about how clean their slums were before. Slums, which are usually horizontal neighborhoods, people share those spaces. They have immediate access to those spaces. So there is that connection to the space which they have helped design and build on their own. So if you look at the way Natwar Parekh Colony, the homes there have been assigned to different families, they come from different parts of Mumbai. It's almost like they've been picked up from there and dropped here. First of all, they're not used to living in a vertical housing environment. When you relocate families, it's called relocation and rehabilitation. Now the relocation happened, the rehabilitation not so much. So the rehabilitation part, which is recognizing and understanding that the families being moved there need to be informed and told about the new way of living. So not being able to address that, and that then causing that disconnection in terms of relating to space, which I think in a way translates to lack of ownership or not having a sense of belonging.
So what we're trying to do is working with people to see potential in new spaces, to see that the space you see downstairs, which is covered with garbage, can be an interesting social space where people can come together. Your kids can play, because right now at least 30% of the 25,000 people living in Natwar Parekh are kids, and that is a huge population of children who do not have places to go play. So we're trying to tell them that there are multiple design possibilities that we can use to reclaim that space. So how do we use design to tell people the possibility of residual spaces in their colony?
To me, art and design is an approach before it's a tangible outcome. The tools of art allow us to see things in different perspectives, and we're trying to change the way people are looking at this problem of garbage. We thought to illustrate the idea of sharing through a common dustbin. We had to excite them about their own spaces. Usually it's dull and grey. So we decided to turn this activity of installing the dustbin into an event of participatory mural making. This would not only bring people together but also make their spaces more visually inviting. We designed informative and playful stencil art that engaged people from any age group to come together and start painting the walls. This system of managing waste was adopted by several buildings after seeing the results. The waste that was previously thrown in common spaces were now getting thrown into the bins. Waste collector would collect it every day and drop it to the nearest BMC compost collectors to pick it up.
जो करिश्टोन से आ रहे नताशा और हम सब मिल के जाते हैं, सोसाइटी में पहले बात करते हैं। हर बिल्डिंग से उनकी सोसाइटी उनकी जिम्मेदारी ले रही है कि कचरा फेंकना ही नहीं है, गीला कचरा सूखा कचरा अलग कर रहे हैं। डिब्बे सोसाइटी अगर लाएगी तो लोगों को उसका एहसास नहीं होगा, इसलिए हम हर घर से 100 रुपया कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं। 6 रूम के बीच में हम डिब्बा रखते हैं और उनको बताते हैं कि इसमें आपका पैसा लगा, इसलिए इस पर जो नज़र रखना, ये चोरी ना हो, ये गंदा ना हो, ये टूटे ना,
तो आप सबको मिल के देखना है। तो जब वो पैसा दे रहे तो कहीं ना कहीं उनको लग रहा है मेरा भी कंट्रीब्यूशन है, तो मुझे भी इस पे ध्यान देना है।
Once we started seeing that there is a difference and that bin has curtailed people's habits of throwing garbage on the street, and the streets were looking cleaner and kids started reclaiming it, can we like act as a catalyst to like sort of push that transformation to the next level?
Now that's not something where, you know, there's a formula and we can just swoop in and say, okay, you know, this is what you need to do and then you're going to come together. It was about using a solutions based approach, if you will. So when you go with a much more solutions based approach, in our case it's through design, people do respond quite well. People love, you know, that you're trying to solve problems with them together. And also the investment from their side, because you know, you can obviously offer brand new spaces, but then does it really serve their immediate needs is the question to ask.
The design of the space had to be something that the residents can make and maintain themselves. So we designed something that was low tech, frugal and still exciting. Small changes like lights and painting and benches and plants can bring a huge difference in the way people function in their space.
So we designed that space with them. For example, when we had to paint the walls, so we got painters from the colony to paint it. When the plants were getting selected, we spoke to the people, the kind of plants they would want, went with them. The tiles need to be painted, so the kids were involved. We organized a small activity where it would be easy for kids to paint the street. We also wanted to make benches. We got a fabricator within the colony to fabricate the frames of the benches and have women who knew weaving to weave those benches in like the patterns and the colors that they want. And then finally we decided to inaugurate that space on 25th December last year.
परेशान है कॉलोनी में सफाई लाने के लिए। यहाँ पे 61 बिल्डिंग है, उसमें से 10 बिल्डिंग ने पहले इस बात को समझा और गीला कचरा सूखा कचरा अलग करने लगे। ये जो इतनी बड़ी मेहनत हुई है, ये सीएससी की टीम है, तो हमने ये तो करके दिखाया कि 10 बिल्डिंग तो चेंज हुई और 10 में ये 2 बिल्डिंग इतना सुंदर बन गया, तो हमारे लिए ये बहुत बड़ी कामयाबी है।
और सभी बच्चे जो भी यहाँ पे आज खाएगा वो कचरा के डब्बे में ही कचरा डालेगा, बिल्कुल कचरा नहीं डालेगा। अरे विकास
We're very keen on what we're calling social infrastructure, right? I like the reference to it because that word infrastructure, it gives it the sense of importance and a sense of urgency. We chose with the community that particular space because now they're sharing that space. So you kind of start small, right? I mean, you look at how are they dealing with this little piece of space within this really large neighborhood, because how do you get them to develop that sense of belonging or sense of ownership? And I think that comes when you really care for people living around you, because then you want to sort of take care of the space for each other.
सफाई से इतना सारा बदलाव आ जाएगा, उनको इसका अहमियत पता नहीं थी। लेकिन जब वो गंदा था तब लगता था ये बहुत गंदा है। जैसे ही साफ़ हुआ तो उनके दिमाग से पूरा आइडियाज़ आने लगा, अरे यहाँ बच्चे खेल सकते हैं, यहाँ हम बैठ सकते हैं। सबसे पहले हम बीमारी से बच गए, लेकिन अकेले कभी सक्सेस नहीं हो पाएंगे, इसमें आपका हिस्सेदारी बहुत ज़रूरी है। तो उन्होंने भी हमको भरोसा दिया है कि नहीं, इससे हम लोगों को कोई प्रॉब्लम है तो हम अभी पूरा सपोर्ट करेंगे। वो दिख भी रहा है।
हम एक डिज़ाइन संस्था से हैं, 3 साल से यहाँ पे काम कर रहे हैं। मुझे लगता है देखो ये है ना, ये कुछ भी नामुमकिन नहीं है ना।
This is how you build trust in a community, because you start taking responsibility for each other, and it all starts around space. You know, once a community claims space, triggers behavioral change on so many levels.